So we are going to see the first part of the scenario 1. So when someone will try to find some new vulnerability. So here you see some Cubes operator workstation. On the right, it's just a schema about what is how the workstation is configured, the VPNs, the network workflow. And on the left, you see the typical cube manager of Cubes system that shows you all the cubes which are configured. And you see, as explained by subtitles, or some of the components for the scenario. So typically, HERMES Web UI is the cubes to be able to reach the HERMES platform. And some other are mostly for backend configuration and how it works. HERMES inbox is typically the cubes that will receive all the research information that you will do in a disposable cube. The disposable cubes are referred by the pattern DISP, as you can see with some number. So each time you see some DISP something, it's some cubes that is supposed to be destroyed, that will be destroyed when you close the content. Just seen that this USB is a cube that holds all the USB device. And here we access the HERMES platform. So here, you see some menu that you have seen in the first demo. Here we see that we access to the UGVs, firmwares, or vulnerabilities that are known on the platform. So you have some samples or examples of some firmware, some version, how many firmware are deployed. You see also the number of vulnerabilities that we know about this particular firmware that are supposed to be patched or mitigated. Here you can see the list of vulnerabilities. So this is purely fictional, of course. It's good to precise it. So you can see for each vulnerability some description, some severity, and when it has been reported, and the given firmware. So here we are going to create some disposable cube. So typically we want to know if there exists some new vulnerability for a given firmware. So here you see that the operator is starting some disposable cubes. So this cube is going to be destroyed when you will close the window. So everything that is done in this cube is purely ephemeral and nothing is stored at all. So you see it started. And you see a new window. So typically a web browser that will be used for vulnerability research. And here you see that it's some disposable cube based on some templates, HERMES Research GVM, which is some configured template like you will store every tools that you need for research or anything needed in practice. So assuming that you have some known database website of vulnerabilities, which is here shown as an example, you see that you have some vulnerability description on this website. You want to store to save this information to then transfer them to the HERMES platform. Here you see the small screenshot that you took from the web browser. So you read the content, of course, just to be sure that you will not miss anything. See that we have recognized some UGV firewall Delta 2023 hardware. And then you see that you had some exploited vulnerabilities on your web browser. And at this time, you don't want any malware or anything that could be used inside your disposable VM to communicate outside. So you just cut the network connection. So it's referred as Netcube. So at this time, your compromised web browser has no more access to internet. So even if it's a compromised web browser, you can still perform some action like extracting and copying your information to another cube. So by default, there is some policy that enforces that every disposable cube's content that you want to copy to another cube are forced to be copied into the HERMES inbox cube in blue that you see that here. So it's a strict policy enforcement. And Christos, okay. So here you see that you have the vulnerabilities information, which in this case is just a picture, and you want first to sanitize this. And in KubeOS we have some tools to sanitize the content to another disposable VM that are used to be sure that nothing else will remain inside the content you transfer from the disposable VM. So typically, you may know that inside image or PDF or some similar content, you can have some malware inside. So here you can see that you have untrusted suffix at the end to say that the original data is the one with untrusted, and you can safely open the one without. So here you recognize the screenshot that you took from the web browser. And so you have seen that one of the vulnerability content concern one of your firmware. So you want to create a new vulnerability information, and then you use the HERMES platform to fill the content that you found on your research. Typically the vulnerability name, firmware name, and the description and the severity. See that this is shortly about this firmware. You validate and save, and you see that if any error would have happened, you would have been notified. But in this case, everything is fine. Can close. You see that some little pop-up. See that your system has detected something. And now you want to synchronize it to some USB device for typically military operating system, so offline or air-gapped system. So you attach some USB device from the sys USB backend to your cubes that is authorized to copy data to USB. So typically, you attach the first USB device. We select the first USB. And then you validate and sync to the USB device. So it happened two things. One, general synchronization to the HERMES platform. So for every online platform, and then you also stored new vulnerability data to the USB device. And so now you arrive to the phase 2 that you are an operator that will receive this new vulnerability. So this operator log to the platform, like daily surveillance, or operator that is supposed to check if everything is fine. He logs and he sees that a notification about we plug some USB device to typically military operator. The system knows that something new is on USB device. So he has to synchronize the USB device. So he takes the USB device to synchronize. And then on the platform, you can see that something is detected. So there is a correlation that has been made by the system that from new data, you have some vulnerability about this firmware. So about the vulnerability that's been found in the first phase. And so the operator looks at the vulnerability content. So we recognize the vulnerability that the operator in the first phase has registered. It's considered as critical. And if now the operator goes to the second environment of the HERMES platform, so typically different level of sensibility HERMES system to notify or not to separate different operational mission. And for the second one, the second cube that you can see, which is just known as HERMES notification. In this instance, it detects that he absolutely needs to notify the operation center that there exists a new vulnerability that will impact the operational theater. So, okay, so now we arrive to the scenario 2, which show basically how HERMES system is configured on the server level, so on the backend component of HERMES. So on this queue manager, you will recognize every bricks, every component that we defined in the previous HERMES project steps. So HAPI, HDM, HDS, etc. So it's different cubes that are linked with some exchange gateway and exchange registry. So exchange gateway is just EG and exchange registry ER. So they are configured. So the admin operator accesses the exchange registry interface. Here on this admin session, he can manage users. You can see that he can has access to some user management logs. So who does something or what has been done. Can create some new user, with some permission management. You can give a role to this user if you want. You can also edit an existing user. So typically, if you want to change information about the user, it's feasible. You can change also permissions. If it's allowed to know to view or edit, for example here. So according to our user, of course, this admin user is authorized to do every action on the system platform. So now if you log as some user which is allowed to manage ITO or community of interest, here you see that any community of interest are registered like this. With some description, you can see that this community of interest is allowed to receive and share information about some given ITO with the following attributes or properties. So it gives you some view about the partial authorized information that is allowed to be shared. You can add some new community of interest on which you will give, in this example, other attributes or other properties for the given registered ITO. And I think it's the end of the demonstration.